This weekend was supposed to be when the Pro League Season 11 finals were to take place in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Unfortunately, the event was cancelled due to COVID-19 health concerns, and since all of the teams that would be participating live so far away from one another, trying to play it in an online format also wasn't on the table. But if it had taken place, I think we'd be looking at one of the best LAN events we'd ever seen just based on the teams participating. So I thought it'd be fun to dive into this event if it hadn't been cancelled and give my predictions on it, but you know me, I'm the master of predicting the opposite of what actually happens. They call me the anti-prophet. BDS takes it. Did you guys know that when SSG were losing the Invitational Grand Final, I tweeted a congratulations to NIP, and then Space Station came back to win the whole thing? I'm so good at this! Right now, we have 6 participants locked in. Space Station and TSM from North America, Rogue and G2 Esports from Europe, and Ninjas in Pajamas and TSM from Latin America. But we don't have are the 2 Asia-Pacific representatives. Because APAC has 4 different sub-regions, all 4 of them would send their 2 best teams to compete at a special LAN event, and then the 2 finalists from that would be the ones that head to the Pro League finals. This would have included Cyclops Athlete Gaming and Fave Gaming from Japan, Scars and Cloud9 from Korea, QConfirm and Giants Gaming from Southeast Asia, and Fnatic and Elevate from Australia and New Zealand. Because of time zone differences, I watch almost no APAC Siege at all. So to help me out with this, I enlisted the opinions of my friends Infinite Ewok and Raven, both of which are casters in Asia Pacific. I randomized the participants I mentioned, sent it off to them, gave each one of them half of a bracket, and this is what they came up with.
The first matchup I'm going to be talking about is the Giants versus SCAR-Z matchup that has been proposed, and I think that's going to be a comfortable victory. 2-0 for Giants because they have such great international pedigree, they have such strong players, so much experience, and they have added Gig recently, just before the 6th Invitational. They didn't have time to work with him then, but now they have had time to work with him. If they had gone to the APAC finals, SCAR-Z would not really have stood a chance, even though they did pretty well and finished ahead of Cloud9 in the Korean Pro League. Coming to the second matchup, that is QConfirm versus Elevate. It is a bit harder to predict, but I think I'm going to go with QConfirm 2-1. Now, it could be an Elevate 2-1 because Elevate has been doing well in the ANZ Pro League for Season 11. But, you know, this might be a playstyle that they will struggle with. QConfirm is very hard to play against. Elevate, first time at an APAC finals, playing against QConfirm, the likes of Finca, play all sorts of quote-unquote ranked strategies. It's not something that you can really pair against unless you have prior experience. And the fact that QConfirm has been scrimming with teams like Fnatic as well, that might just be the death knell for Elevate.
Fnatic versus Fav. Fav in the Japanese Pro League season still looked alright, but they had signs of struggles against a flailing Lorengo. Fnatic proved time and time again, though, that even after losing Virtue, that they are still a formidable team. So I think between these two, Fnatic would hands down be taking this matchup. Final quarterfinal would be Cyclops Gaming versus Cloud9. I think it's really hard to overlook the fact that Cyclops are going from strength to strength in the Japanese Pro League, topping it off against some really strong opponents such as Fav Gaming and Norengo. And on the other hand, Cloud9 are totally floundering in Korea Pro League. They didn't have the greatest form. They still managed to get through. It really doesn't give me a lot of hope against a strong opponent like Cyclops coming out of Japan. So given Cloud9's previous APAC performances and their recent form in Korean Pro League, Cyclops takes this one easy. So Fnatic versus Cyclops in the semi-final. Well, given both teams' forms, I would say that this is going to be a really good series. I would still kind of lean towards Fnatic though. I'm sure Cyclops would put up a good fight and they showed up at Season 10 LAN, but they also showed that they really lacked mental fortitude against tough teams from other sub-regions, whereas Fnatic have actually proven time and time again that this is an area that they are strong in and excel at. And it's also proven they can counter that aggressive Japanese style of Cyclops in the past. So while a close series, I'm confident this would be Fnatic with the dub.
I actually forgot to ask Infian who he thinks would win that last semifinal between QConfirm and Giants, but because both teams are based in Southeast Asia, QConfirm had the better record last season and beat Giants in 2 straight games previously, I'm going to give the win to them. Big thanks to Shakar and Brandon for giving me their picks on this one. Links to their Twitters are in the description. Smash that follow button! I've never said that out loud in real life before. I'm so sorry. So now we have all of our 8 teams locked down, but we still need to situate the bracket. The way this works is a random draw where a number 1 seeded team from a region will play a number 2 seeded team from a different region. So we're going to do an actual draw. Are you excited to know these matchups? I honestly am too. Separated into number 1 seeds and number 2 seeds. I know I'm not getting any credibility by not showing you on camera, but I literally just can't tilt this down. All right, here we go. Latin America's number 1 seeded team, Team Liquid, versus... Oh, I already wish this LAN was happening. Liquid versus G2. Oh boy, that's gonna be fun. Okay, game number 2. Number 1 seed out of APAC. I just gave Fnatic the number 1 seed over QConfirm because I assumed that they would win a game over QConfirm if that was in the finals, but Fnatic's number 1 against number 2 from North America, TSM. Fuck! I'm just gonna get progressively more and more sad as we keep doing this. Okay. North America's number 1, the current world champions, Space Station Gaming, against the number 2 seed in APAC, QConfirm. All right, that one seems a little more reasonable. And this just leaves the number 1 seed out of Europe against the number 2 seed in Latin America, Ninjas in Pajamas versus Rogue. Okay, all right. I actually didn't know the results of this draw until I did it just now, so I need to go leave to write the rest of this script. I'm back, and to illustrate that time has passed, I've changed my shirt. You're welcome. Okay, let's dive into these quarterfinal games. Liquid versus G2 is a game I think we haven't seen since DreamHack Montreal's group stage from last year, where Liquid placed first in Group A after beating G2 2-1. But G2's roster today, way different. G2's obviously made 2 very big acquisitions since these 2 teams have played last, and also clawed their way out of a 3-way tie for second place in European Pro League to qualify for Sao Paulo. Liquid won the OGA Pit Minor last year that punched their ticket to the Invitational, but lost out in groups, whereas G2 made the playoffs, but then lost 2 straight series, so neither team had great performances there. Liquid, on the other hand, haven't made changes for a while, and stuck it out in Latin American Pro League to get their first seed. This is honestly really tough to call, but I'm gonna give it to G2. That super team lineup just needs a really good LAN event to show the world how much potential they have, and they're no strangers to beating Brazilian teams in Brazil, so I'll give them the edge here, 2-1. Fnatic and TSM is a rematch of the winners semifinals of the Invitational Playoffs, which was a 2-0 stomp, I think, from TSM that eventually netted them a run all the way to 3rd place at that event. Fnatic's run ended a little earlier against BDS, but they kept their composure and finished first in ANZ Pro League. God, this is another one that's really tough to call. You know what? This event isn't happening. I don't have a reputation at stake. These matchups aren't going to actually occur. Let's have a little fun with the storylines on this one and see where this can lead. Fnatic over TSM 2-1. You can come after me all you want, but give Magnet that dub. I think this team with Mentalist and Tex is one of the best lineups that Fnatic has ever had, and I just think they need a little more time to come into their own as a squad, and they've proven that since they acquired Mentalist and Tex a little bit ago. With Aces back in the fold, it's really a strong lineup. If you can beat FaZe, Empire, and G2 all in one tournament, that speaks volumes about their confidence. Sorry, TSM. This is just Australia's time. SSG versus QConfirm I think is pretty obvious, even if it were Giants Gaming in QConfirm's place instead. Against the current world champions, I expect this to be a 2-0 for the Orange Astronauts regardless. An APAC team with no international experience against the best team in the world is a pretty obvious result to me. Rogue versus NIP is a match I don't think we've ever seen before. If we have, I wasn't able to dig far enough through Liquipedia to find it, but my reasoning here is also kind of obvious. The runners-up for the Invitational, who beat G2, Dark Zero, BDS, and TSM to make it to the Grand Finals against a team with a great online record who have never been able to make a substantial offline transition. This is a 2-1 win for NIP pretty clearly. Talking to Alfama about his time with this Rogue team and their inconsistency on LAN just makes me even more confident in this pick. You can find the interview on the card right up here, and NIP is a scarier team than I think a lot of fans give them credit for. So, especially when they're in Brazil, this is theirs to win. So that's our quarterfinal game sorted out, and you are already typing in the comments about how this is rigged and trash, and you wouldn't have seen these working out this way. Lighten up, kids. This is for fun. Think of the storylines we get to weave into this event if these matchups were to go like this, especially for our first semifinal, which is G2 versus Fnatic. Another rematch of the Invitational Playoffs, but again, Fnatic hasn't had to play this new G2 roster yet, especially now that Virtue is fighting his old team. See, there's the storyline. This is Fnatic's time to show that they don't need Virtue to keep competing at a high international level, and they can just use the powers of Tex's ungodly long neck to help them win.
Why is it so big? I don't understand.
Here's where I'm going to call another upset. I think Fnatic is somehow the underdog going into this game, but I'm going to give them a 2-1 victory. It's hard to call upsets in Siege, especially when every fan on Twitter is going to be screaming the exact opposite of this at me right now, but I think there's a legitimate reason to think Fnatic has it in the bag. This could come down to a 7-7 overtime match point on map 3, and I still think they could pull it off. My bracket, my video, FNC gets the dub. SSG and NIP, the rematch of the Invitational Grand Final. Had that game been a best of 3, NIP would have won it in 2 maps because they won those first 2 games, and if it were a normal best of 5 and SSG hadn't been given a 1-map lead, then they would have needed to win 1 more map to actually lift the hammer. NIP were blasting through SSG until they got to Clubhouse, and I'm also going to add the factor of home field advantage in here as well. The Brazilian crowd is going to be going insane for NIP to get revenge. More insane than me and my friends were going for all the NA teams in Montreal. There is also still a bit of an upset factor in this, but screw it. NIP 2-1. This, ladies and gentlemen, finally brings us to this point. A match I would really love to see eventually, given how good both teams seem to be at the moment. This grand final is Fnatic versus Ninjas in Pajamas. This would be Fnatic's first Grand Finals appearance at any international LAN in the team's history, and even in the history of both ANZ and APAC in terms of how far any team has been able to go ever. Pro League Grand Finals have always been best of 3s because we save best of 5 finals for longer tournaments like Invite. Now, a few weeks ago, I tweeted about where I would rank all 8 teams that would be going to this event, assuming it hadn't been canceled. It actually attracted a little bit more heat than I meant for it to, but I had Ninjas in Pajamas at number 1. In this bracket, if they can beat Rogue clean and use some of their magic to actually surpass SSG, then I think this is their tournament to win. Home field advantage, Grand Finals, time to achieve glory, and since I don't think Fnatic is a better team than SSG, I think NIP finally brings this one home. Ninjas in Pajamas are my pick to win the Pro League Season 11 Finals in Sao Paulo, and I think they definitely deserve to take home a trophy heading into their new league format with Ubisoft later in June. That's it. This was actually really fun to concoct a mock bracket and see who could have won this event, but it has so many different ways that it could swing. Please feel free to disagree with me and leave your rationale in the comments. This was just for fun, and I'm really sad that we actually couldn't see some of these matchups take place. So hit up my Twitter, my Twitch, and this YouTube channel for more in the coming days, and I will see you for the Hammered podcast with a very special guest tomorrow. Talk to you later.